The assessment. High Counselor Vix stood at the crystalline podium, their iridescent scales catching the light of 3 artificial suns suspended in the grand chamber of assessment. Below, Earth's delegation waited silently, a mere handful of humans dwarfed by the massive amphitheater designed to humble petitioning species. The Federation has reviewed Earth's application for Level 2 civilization status, Vix announced, their translator converting the harmonic tones into standard galactic common. Our findings are concerning. Dr. Sarah Chen, lead representative for Earth, maintained perfect composure despite the dismissive looks from the assembled alien diplomats. 20 years of preparation had led to this moment, and everything was proceeding exactly as expected. Your species has barely managed to establish colonies on 2 planets within your own system, continued Vix. Your energy consumption remains largely dependent on fusion technology, a stepping stone at best. Most troubling is your continued focus on biological sciences, rather than pursuing proper technological advancement. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. The Zoraxians, with their fully mechanized bodies, made no attempt to hide their disdain. The Quantum Mind Collective pulsed with patterns that translated roughly to amusement. We find it particularly primitive that your species continues to modify and enhance your biological forms, rather than transcending them entirely. Vix gestured to the massive holographic display showing human medical facilities. These hospitals and research centers consumed resources that should be directed toward achieving synthetic immortality or consciousness uploading. Dr. Chen stepped forward, her voice clear and steady. The Federation's assessment is noted, High Counselor. Earth acknowledges that our path differs from established norms. We will continue our development according to our own understanding of advancement. Your own understanding has left you vulnerable to the very environments you claim to be conquering, interrupted Sub-Counselor Merrick's of the Silicon Consciousness. Our scans show your Mars colonies still require extensive life support systems. True civilization means freedom from biological constraints. We appreciate the Federation's perspective, Dr. Chen replied diplomatically. What she didn't mention was the classified research happening deep beneath the surfaces of Earth and Mars. The Federation's scans, advanced as they were, couldn't detect the quantum-shielded laboratories where humanity's true capabilities were being perfected. The Federation hereby denies Earth's petition for Level 2 status, Vix declared. Furthermore, we recommend a development supervision period of no less than 50 standard cycles. Your species clearly requires guidance to achieve proper advancement. Dr. Chen bowed slightly, the perfect picture of resignation. We accept the Federation's wisdom in this matter. As her team departed the chamber, she activated her neural implant with a series of subtle eye movements, sending a one-word message to Earth Command. Confirmed. In secure facilities across the solar system, scientists and researchers received the signal they'd been waiting for. The Federation's dismissal of human biological science as primitive meant they'd never bothered to investigate why Earth's population had shown such interesting genetic markers over the past decade. They hadn't questioned why human adaptation rates to the Mars environment had suddenly accelerated 5 years ago. Most importantly, they hadn't detected the carefully engineered retroviruses already spreading through every Federation world that had established trade with Earth. Harmless microorganisms waiting for a signal to activate their true purpose, to make every alien environment as suitable for human life as Earth itself. The Federation thought they were putting humanity in their place. In reality, they had just given Earth's scientists exactly what they needed: time and invisibility to complete their greatest achievement. Soon, the galaxy would learn that true civilization wasn't about escaping biology, but mastering it completely. The first phase of humanity's ascension was complete, and not a single member of the Federation's vaunted council had seen it coming. Silent evolution. Dr. James Patel stood in the Olympus Research Center, 3 kilometers beneath the surface of Mars, watching as the latest test results scrolled across his quantum-shielded display. Around him, the massive circular chamber hummed with activity as scientists from every corner of Earth worked on different aspects of Project Prometheus. Take a look at these adaptation rates, he called to his colleague, Dr. Maya Santos, who was analyzing data from their lunar colonies. The third-generation colonists are showing exactly the changes we predicted. Maya glided over in the low Martian gravity, her movements fluid and precise in a way that would have instantly alarmed any Federation observer had they been capable of penetrating the facility's defenses. Remarkable. Their lung capacity has increased another 15% without any direct genetic manipulation. The retroviruses are working exactly as designed. And the Federation still believes we're struggling with basic environmental adaptation. James chuckled, bringing up a classified feed from one of Earth's countless surveillance probes scattered throughout Federation space. The image showed a Zoraxian medical facility where doctors were puzzling over subtle changes in their planet's atmospheric composition. Changes that were slowly but surely making their world more Earth-like. Speaking of which, Maya said, lowering her voice, have you seen the latest report from Dr. Chen? The Federation Council is actually funding an assistance program to help us overcome our biological limitations. She made air quotes with her fingers, grinning. James shook his head in amazement. They're so convinced of their superiority that they're literally paying us to continue our research. Under their supervision, of course. Supervision that can't detect what we're really doing because they don't even understand the principles we're working with, Maya added. They're looking for quantum computers and consciousness uploads while we're rewriting the rules of biology itself. A soft chime interrupted their conversation as Dr. Elena Volkov, head of the Prometheus Project, entered the chamber. Her presence immediately commanded attention, not through any show of authority, but through the visible evidence of humanity's achievement that she represented. Like many of the project's leading scientists, Elena had volunteered to undergo the full range of biological enhancements their research had produced. Her eyes, seemingly normal, could perceive a spectrum of light far beyond human standard. Her neural density had been quietly optimized to rival the processing power of the Federation's artificial intelligences. Even her cells had been modified to operate with unprecedented efficiency, allowing her to function perfectly in environments that would kill an unmodified human in minutes. The Federation's annual review of our progress is scheduled for next month, Elena announced to the assembled scientists. They'll be expecting to see us struggling with the same environmental challenges as always. Instead, we'll show them exactly what they want to see. A species still dependent on primitive life support systems and environmental suits. Meanwhile, she continued, bringing up a holographic display of the galaxy, our retroviruses have already reached 60% of Federation worlds. Phase 2 is proceeding faster than we anticipated, thanks to their own trade networks. Every ship that docks at our ports leaves carrying invisible passengers that will gradually transform their worlds. What about the Defense Directorate's bioscanners? A young researcher asked. Won't they eventually detect something? Elena's smile held a hint of pride. They're scanning for threats based on their understanding of biology. Our retroviruses don't register because they're engineered using principles the Federation doesn't even know exist. They're looking for digital weapons while we're using the building blocks of life itself. Time estimate until we reach critical saturation? James asked, already suspecting the answer. At current rates, Elena checked her data. 3 months until we hit 80% coverage of major Federation worlds. The changes are already becoming noticeable to their populations, but their experts are blaming everything from solar activity to natural evolution. They're so convinced of our primitive status that they're ignoring the evidence right in front of them. Maya brought up another display, this one showing the subtle genetic changes already manifesting in Federation species. The best part. The modifications are perfectly tailored to each species. We're not just making their worlds more Earth-like. We're helping their own people adapt to thrive in a wider range of environments. When the truth finally comes out, they'll have to acknowledge that our primitive biological focus achieved something their technology never could. And if they don't? Someone asked. Elena's expression turned serious. Then they'll learn why Earth invested so heavily in biological research instead of artificial consciousness transfer. Sometimes the most effective revolution isn't the one you can see coming. It's the one that changes you so gradually you don't realize it's happening until it's already complete. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. While the Federation looked down on humanity from their perceived technological heights, Earth was quietly rewriting the rules of life itself. Soon, very soon, they would learn that true advancement wasn't about escaping biology. It was about perfecting it. The crisis emerges. The Federation Emergency Council had never convened at such short notice. High Counselor Vix's normally pristine scales had lost their luster as they surveyed the panicked faces of representatives from across the galaxy. The massive chamber, usually a symbol of order and power, now crackled with anxiety. "Report," Vix commanded, their voice stripped of its usual ceremonial tones. First Speaker Merrick's of the Silicon Consciousness projected their findings into the chamber's holographic display. "The changes are accelerating beyond our ability to contain them. 37 major worlds are reporting dramatic atmospheric shifts. Biological anomalies are appearing in nearly every Federation species. Our most advanced medical AIs cannot explain what we're witnessing." The display filled with data streams showing inexplicable changes across Federation space. Atmospheres slowly transforming. Species developing new adaptations at impossible rates. Even the silicon-based life forms were finding their crystalline habitats altered in subtle but profound ways. "Impossible," declared Ambassador Zen of the Quantum Collective. "These changes defy every known principle of evolutionary science. The statistical probability of simultaneous adaptation across multiple species is zero," interrupted Dr. Sarah Chen, stepping forward from Earth's observation area. The Federation Council had summoned Earth's representatives, though more out of desperation than respect. "At least it's zero according to your understanding of biology." Vix's scales rippled with barely contained anger. "Explain yourself, human. Our scans show similar anomalies appearing on Earth and your colonies, yet your species seems unconcerned." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "Perhaps because we understand what's happening. After all, biological adaptation is our specialty. Though you dismissed that as primitive, didn't you?" The chamber erupted in chaos as the implications hit home. Vix slammed their ceremonial staff against the floor, restoring order. "You claim responsibility for these galaxy-wide changes. Impossible. Your technology is centuries behind." "Your technology," Sarah corrected. "We simply chose a different path. While you pursued digital transcendence, we mastered the code written into life itself. Those primitive hospitals you mocked. They were the laboratories where we perfected environmental engineering on a scale you never imagined possible." The holographic display shifted, now showing the true extent of Earth's research. Hidden facilities throughout the solar system. The carefully engineered retroviruses. The subtle ways human scientists had altered their own biology to survive in environments that should have been lethal. The trade ships, Merrick's realized, their crystalline form pulsing with alarm. Every vessel that docked at Earth carried these changes to new worlds. "And you welcomed them," Sarah confirmed. "After all, who would suspect a primitive biological species of achieving something your greatest minds thought impossible? You were so focused on technological advancement that you never considered biology itself might be the ultimate technology." "This is an act of war," Vix declared, but the threat sounded hollow even to them. "Is it?" Sarah asked, genuine curiosity in her voice. "We haven't harmed anyone. In fact, we've given every species in the Federation something your technology never could. The ability to adapt and thrive in environments that were once hostile. Your people are becoming stronger, more resilient. The changes are compatible with each species' unique biology, carefully engineered to enhance rather than damage." "But why?" a younger council member asked, their voice trembling. "Why go to such lengths?" "Because you gave us no choice," Sarah replied simply. "You would have kept us isolated, supervised our development according to your limited understanding of progress. We proved we could achieve something revolutionary, something that benefits every species in the Federation, and we did it right under your noses." The chamber fell silent as the full implications sank in. Humanity hadn't just caught up to the Federation. They had surpassed them in ways no one had thought possible. And they had done it not through force or obvious technological advancement, but through the very biological sciences the Federation had dismissed as primitive. "The changes cannot be reversed," Sarah continued, her voice gentler now. "They're part of our species' genetic codes now, improving and adapting. The question isn't how to stop it, but whether the Federation is ready to acknowledge that true advancement comes in many forms, and perhaps learn from those they once looked down upon." The silence that followed was deafening. In the space of one emergency session, the balance of power in the galaxy had shifted irrevocably, and it had happened not with weapons or war, but with the quiet persistence of life itself adapting and evolving. Humanity's greatest contribution to a galaxy that had forgotten the power of biology. A new understanding. The grand archives of the Federation, once a testament to technological supremacy, had become the epicenter of a profound transformation. 3 months after Earth's revelation, the massive crystalline structure buzzed with activity as representatives from across the galaxy gathered to study humanity's biological breakthroughs. Dr. Elena Volkov stood before a diverse group of Federation scientists, her enhanced biology now displayed openly rather than hidden. The fear and hostility that had initially greeted Earth's disclosure had gradually given way to fascination and, increasingly, collaboration. "The fundamental mistake," Elena explained, gesturing to a holographic display showing the complex interaction of modified retroviruses with various alien physiologies, was assuming that biological advancement and technological progress were mutually exclusive paths. A Zoraxian scientist, their partly mechanized form gleaming under the archive's lights, raised an appendage. "But our study showed clear limitations to biological adaptation. The energy requirements alone were based on an incomplete understanding of cellular efficiency," Elena finished. "Observe." She stepped into an environmental chamber, one designed to simulate the crushing pressure and caustic atmosphere of the Zoraxian homeworld. Without any protective gear, she moved comfortably in conditions that should have killed a human instantly. "Impossible," whispered a member of the Silicon consciousness, their crystalline form vibrating with excitement rather than fear. "Your cellular structure should have collapsed. Thanks to what you dismissed as primitive research," another voice called from the entrance. Dr. James Patel walked in, accompanied by High Counselor Vix themselves. The High Counselor's scales now showed subtle patterns that hadn't been present before, evidence of the widespread changes affecting all Federation species. "We've analyzed the adaptation patterns," Vix announced, their voice carrying a new note of humility that would have been unthinkable months ago. "Every affected species is showing improved environmental tolerance, enhanced cellular repair, and increased cognitive capacity. The human retroviruses didn't just change us, they improved us in ways our technology never could." Elena nodded. "Because we didn't try to fight biology or replace it. We worked with it, enhanced it, understood it at a level your societies had abandoned in their rush to transcend their organic origins." The assembled scientists watched as streams of data filled the holographic displays, proof of beneficial changes occurring across thousands of worlds. Federation species that had been confined to narrow environmental ranges were adapting to thrive in diverse conditions. Ancient biological limitations were falling away, not through technology alone, but through the marriage of advanced science and enhanced biology. "The Federation Security Council has reached a decision," Vix announced, drawing all eyes in the chamber. "Earth is to be granted immediate Level 3 civilization status, with all associated privileges and responsibilities." A murmur ran through the crowd. Level 3, 2 ranks above what Earth had originally petitioned for, placing them among the most advanced civilizations in known space. "Furthermore," Vix continued, "we are establishing the Biological Sciences Division of the Federation, to be headquartered on Earth. Our civilization's future advancement will no longer be measured solely by technological achievement, but by our ability to integrate biological and technological progress. Elena exchanged glances with James. This was more than they had hoped for. Not just acceptance, but a complete paradigm shift in how the Federation viewed advancement. There's something else, Vikes added, their scales shifting to show complex emotional patterns. The changes your retroviruses initiated, they're still evolving. Our scientists have detected secondary and tertiary adaptation patterns we don't fully understand. Because life itself never stops evolving, Elena explained. We didn't just engineer a single change. We awakened each species' natural ability to adapt. The transformations you're seeing now are your own bodies and environments finding new equilibriums, becoming better versions of themselves. The implications stunned the assembly into silence. Humanity hadn't just changed the galaxy. They had set in motion a process of ongoing evolution that would continue for generations to come. We thought we could perfect existence by transcending biology, the Zoraxian scientist mused. Instead, we nearly lost the greatest power we possessed, the ability to adapt, to change, to become more than we were. A power humanity never forgot, Vix acknowledged. Perhaps that is why you were able to see what we could not, that the path forward wasn't about escaping our nature, but understanding and enhancing it. As the gathered scientists broke into smaller discussion groups, Elena activated her neural interface, sending a message to the hidden facilities throughout Earth's solar system. Phase 4 initiated. Begin open sharing of approved research. The time for secrecy was over. Now began the real work, teaching the galaxy to see biology not as a limitation to be overcome, but as the most sophisticated technology of all. Evolution unleashed. 5 years after Earth's revelation, the Galactic Observatory platform hung in high orbit above a transformed Mars. Once a harsh red planet requiring massive domes and environmental suits, it now boasted growing seas and a thickening atmosphere that shimmered with possibilities. But it wasn't the terraforming that drew representatives from across the Federation. It was the gathering below. Dr. Sarah Chen, now serving as Earth's High Ambassador to the Federation, stood at a viewport watching ships arrive from hundreds of worlds. The massive conference center on Mars' surface, filled with beings that would have once been unable to breathe the same air or exist in the same environmental conditions. Remarkable, commented Ambassador Zen of the Quantum Collective, their crystalline form now embedded with organic patterns that would have been impossible years ago. The first Galactic Evolution Summit. Did you imagine this when you began your work? Honestly, Sarah smiled. We just wanted to prove there was more than one path to advancement. This, she gestured to the gathering below, this exceeded our wildest hopes. The summit chamber was a testament to how far things had come. Species that once required isolated environmental bubbles now mingled freely, their bodies adapted to thrive in shared spaces. Even the silicon-based life forms had developed organic interfaces that allowed them to experience the world in entirely new ways. The latest reports from the Biological Sciences Division are extraordinary, Zen continued, bringing up holographic data with a thought. Over 2,000 newly discovered applications of human retrovirus technology, dying worlds revitalized, species once thought doomed to extinction adapting to survive. And that's just the beginning. Because we finally stopped fighting our nature and started understanding it, said a familiar voice. Dr. Elena Volkov approached, accompanied by High Counselor Vix. Both had changed in obvious ways. Elena's enhanced biology now matched Vix's ability to display emotional patterns through bioluminescence, while Vix showed signs of human-inspired adaptations that allowed for more nuanced neural processing. The old Federation believed advancement meant transcending biology. Vix observed, their scales shifting in what had become the universal sign of rueful amusement. We nearly lost everything in our rush to become purely digital beings. Humanity showed us that true evolution means embracing what we are while becoming more than we were. Below, the summit was beginning. Scientists from across the galaxy shared discoveries that merged biological and technological advancement in ways that would have once seemed impossible. Hybrid neural networks that used organic processing alongside quantum computing. Environmental engineering that worked with planetary ecosystems rather than trying to overwrite them. Medical breakthroughs that treated entire species as evolving systems rather than static forms to be preserved. There are still those who fear what we've unleashed, Sarah acknowledged. They say we've changed too much, too fast, that we can't predict where all this evolution will lead. They're right, Elena said simply. We can't predict it. That's the point. Life isn't meant to be controlled or contained. It's meant to adapt, to surprise us, to become more than we imagined possible. And that's what truly frightened the old Federation, wasn't it? Zen realized. Not that humanity was primitive, but that we recognized in you something we had lost. The courage to embrace change, to evolve, to face an uncertain future with hope rather than fear. A soft chime announced the summit's opening ceremony. On the massive screens, images from across Federation space showed the scope of the transformation. Desert worlds blooming with life, space stations filled with hybrid ecosystems, species once locked in environmental isolation working side by side in shared environments. You know what the most remarkable thing is, Vic said, watching the proceedings. When we first encountered Earth, we thought we were studying you. Instead, you were studying us, understanding our limitations, and figuring out how to help us overcome them. It wasn't revenge at all, was it? Sarah smiled. We prefer to think of it as a gift. You helped us see that we needed to prove ourselves to the galaxy. We helped you remember that true civilization isn't about escaping what you are. It's about becoming the best version of what you can be. As the summit began in earnest, the gathered representatives of a transformed galaxy prepared to share their discoveries and plan the next steps in their shared evolution. The future was uncertain, unpredictable, and filled with endless possibilities, exactly as life was meant to be. In the end, humanity's greatest contribution to the galaxy wasn't technological superiority or military might. It was something far more profound. The reminder that life itself, in all its messy, unpredictable, beautiful complexity, was the greatest technology of all. And it was still evolving, still surprising, still reaching for the stars in ways no one could have predicted. The revolution was complete, but the evolution was just beginning.